Okay.
Pass this down. This one.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, city commission meeting, 6/21 tonight, Thursday, May 28th, 2020. I'm gonna do something that I haven't done in quite some time. I'd like to lead the prayer tonight, and commission audience is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, tonight we ask you that you reach out and grab a hold of our community and hold us close. We've been in a bit of a dire straits the last few months, and we're trying to work real hard to pull ourselves together and finish the year off with a success. We've had a lot of people that have met some trying times, and we want to thank you, Lord, for blessing us with community members that have come out, supported businesses, as well as individuals that have been struggling through this. Tonight, please help guide the commissioners up here in making wise decisions for our community. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whew, that made me nervous. Good job. All right, has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Is there any considerations for any changes or deletions for the agenda?
Excuse
sir.
me, we do need roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Mayor Litchfield, Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis,
Yes.
Commissioner Moya, Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
All right, back to number 2. Because would anybody want to make any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I ask that we remove item, where's it at? Number 7A, consideration to approve airport CARES Act grant. We did not receive the required paperwork from the FAA at this time, so we ask that that be removed to a further date.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it, with the changes and deletions.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda excluding item 7A.
I'll second. Roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moya,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the public comments. Citizens wanting to speak during this time must sign up prior to the start of the meeting. Public comments is an opportunity for citizens to comment on non-agenda items. This is not for discussion nor questions and answers. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak. Unfortunately, we don't have a sign-up sheet. Do we have anybody online to go to meeting?
No, sir.
To speak. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved by a single motion. Any member of the commission may request an item be transferred to the regular agenda from the consent without discussion or vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do you have to read what says in the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, apologize. In the consent agenda, we have the May 14th, 2020 work session notes, the May 14th, 2020 commission meeting minutes, and the May 15th, 2020 Housing Authority Board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Moya,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes. The next item on the commission is bids and contracts. Approval of recommendation of award for Mountain Road Construction Change Order Number 18. Ralph?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. In the process of the construction on the Mountain Road project, we had a couple of unforeseen problems that we needed to change, and both of them cost a little bit of money. First one was during the bore underneath the south drain, the boring machine actually hit the bottom of the wing wall from one of the culverts on the DOT right away there. We checked them against the as-bills that the DOT had, and they were actually lower than what the as-bill said. And The fastest solution was for the contractor to actually just go switch their boring machine to their smaller one, and they went ahead and proceeded and just went ahead underneath those at a little slightly different elevation. The second one was a water line that was shown to be a 6-inch on the plans. And from the best information that we had, it actually turned out to be a 4-inch AC line. And discussion with all the parties, including our water department, the fastest solution was to use a 4-inch tapping hot tap on that 4-inch AC line instead of what was actually shown as the 6-inch tapping assembly in the plan. So those two amounted to change total cost of the project of $8,191.51, which we have well in our budget on that project. We're way under our budget on that project, so it should be okay as far as our budget on that. At this time, I'd like to ask for your approval of that change order.
Does anybody have any questions? No, sir. Would entertain a motion for the approval of the recommendation of award for Mountain Road Construction Change Order number 18.
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation of award for Mountain Road Construction, change order number 18.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Commissioner Garvelia,
Yes.
Commissioner Arias,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moyle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is old business, acknowledgement of planning and zoning order 22-2020, October 22, 2020, regular meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look through those minutes?
And that's obviously a typo.
Yeah. October 2020 hasn't happened yet.
Yes, sorry. A little ahead of myself.
All right, and we just have to acknowledge it.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda for new business is the approval of the interim budget for DFA. Rochelle?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I am here requesting your approval of the interim budget for fiscal year 21, which will be in a deficit of $682,690. And again, with general fund showing the deficit of $498,637. If you have any questions, if not, I'll hope that you will approve the budget.
You said it's a deficit of 498?
For general fund, yes.
Okay, I thought we have a surplus.
No, general fund is in a deficit right now. We're projecting that we'll have a surplus at the end of this fiscal year. Because remember, we have the contingency for emergency money in there, the $290,000, and there's some other savings throughout the departments.
So we're actually at a greater deficit as discussed in previous work session.
Right.
Due to our policy of how much we could carry over in reserve. And I did recommend at the previous work session that the city commission, in my opinion, should consider upping that reserve from 15 to 25%, closer to 30, 35%. And that's more the reason why we're able to save jobs and not have to cut so many positions, was to operate within that policy. And like I said, it's a lot bigger deficit than I prefer, but to work within the policy, that's something we did this year. Moving forward, I'd recommend that we do not do that. That we increase the amount of reserve we could carry over and reduce the deficit in future budgets.
So-
Ultimately trying to achieve a zero budget.
So this deficit would put us at 24%.
I'm sorry, what?
It would put us at 24%.
You want to
What
go?
that means is that at the end of what our reserves are, which on our budget, on our cash spreadsheet, our ending balance projecting is 1.235. That's our ending cash projection. Versus our expenditures of it's I'd have to add it up, but it's $5 million. So 25% of that is 1.2 million. So we're right at the 24% with that number of being in a deficit of 498,000.
And your request can go to 35?
In the future, yes, because before when we made all the cuts, we were talking about the first option of the budget 2-3 work sessions ago. We had it up where the cash reserve was close to about 34%. So I think to save that money to utilize in tough times, I believe our reserve should be anywhere from 30 to 35% rather than 15 to 25. 15 is really low, 24 isn't great, but that's within our policy.
Yeah, but
If
then,
you, I'm sorry, Commissioner, just let me say something real quick. If you, figure in that 25% of our that's our cash reserve, that is basically saying that we would only survive for 4 months if things were to get really bad. So that's why we're suggesting maybe increasing the reserve balance so that we could have a little bit extra in case something happens. We would only be able to pay bills for 4 months with that 1.2
But
million.
then how can you increase your reserve to 35,000 if we're already having struggles?
Through the commission. You would set that policy, you would
Yeah,
adopt
but
it.
where are we gonna get the money to flip it up to 35?
In savings, that's where ultimately, so that goes back to the whole process that Rochelle explained in the work session. Anything that we save does get put back into the general fund where it belongs. So to me, I feel, and maybe 30 to 35 is high, maybe we start with 25 to 30 and do it in increments so we get there. And that's probably more realistic.
Yeah, but it's having too big of an impact right now on the budget. I mean, that's a big jump.
And that's where we were in our worst case scenario.
Yeah, but we're having a struggle now with the revenues coming in.
But we would, what we're saying is that we would be able to show a lower deficit instead of showing 500,000 deficit, maybe we could only show like $100,000 deficit and it would look better. That's when you increase the reserves, then we can lower the deficit.
Yeah, I understand, but to get to the reserves, we have to get the money somewhere.
Correct.
And that's where my biggest fear is because the revenues are down, aren't they? Especially with this mess that we're in.
Some are and some aren't. And we
we're
won't
already
know,
having difficulty.
we won't truly know until August, September, where.
So
the
then
directions
we
will
should
lie.
consider this later on, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
We're doing a big jump here.
No, and I agree. Maybe not 30 to 35, but more like 20 to 30. And then eventually, once we build it up,
Yeah,
then
because we have to look and see, because, you know, we already have a very tight budget.
It goes in line with saying like, let's be proactive instead of reactive.
No, I
So-
understand, and believe me, I'm one of them that will go for it, but at the same time, I also have to be realistic that we're even trying to cut jobs and everything else.
that'll be something we look at later.
Later.
Correct,
Later,
correct.
yeah.
Just
Not
for
right now.
perspective, when you look at that, you see $400,000 to $600,000 in a deficit. That's wow. You're like, wow, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But the thing is, based on our policy, that's where we're stuck at.
Yeah, but right now, it's not the right time to jump, because the fact is that the revenue is not that high.
Close, so I mean, in the near future, we need to.
We'll have to examine.
And if you look back on previous budgets, even to the previous finance director, his deficits were always high also, and it is because of that reserve requirement. That is why they're
Back,
high.
but right now, it's not the right time because of the situation.
Right, I'm just giving you a little history, so that you know, it's been high before.
Do we have any other questions, any other discussion?
I just want to commend Rochelle and her staff and Mark for the budget they prepared for us. We saved some people and I can appreciate that. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing a even better budget next year.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the interim budget for DFA as presented in the work session.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Commissioner Arias?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis?
Yes.
Commissioner Moya?
I'm gonna abstain because I got a lot of information at the last minute, so I'm just gonna abstain.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Thank you.
Was that part of?
Let's clear for the next, I'm sorry.
The next one.
I'm like, what?
Turn off the phone.
One second,
We're laughing at you.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis doesn't announce it first. I was a little ahead of him.
All right, right now we have, the next item is approval of memorandum of understandings, the MOU with Head Start and Tucumcari Elementary School.
All righty.
Ms. Claire?
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Pro Tem, and Commission. It sounds like there might be some technical difficulties. So these are the MOUs that are needed each year so that we can place foster grandparents in the elementary school and Head Start for the next fiscal year beginning in July. The MOUs spell out out the responsibilities of both the schools and the program, and it's a housekeeping issue we do every year. So, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, otherwise I respectfully request your approval.
Any questions, discussion?
No, I read it. It sounds really something very, I support that very strongly.
Was that a motion?
Yes, a motion is go ahead, correct?
Oh, second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moya.
Yes.
Commissioner Garvelia.
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Next item on
Thank you,
the,
Clara.
thank you. Next item on the agenda is the city manager's report.
Alrighty, thank you. First off, I know everything with COVID has been crazy this past few months, but the first thing I'd like to do is congratulate the graduating seniors, the 8th graders being promoted up to high school, and the kindergartners. I know it's been tough for them. This is probably an experience they'll never forget. And hopefully, moving forward, we won't have to do this again, but you never know. So I'd like to congratulate them. Next, I'd like to bring up some good things we have going on at 5 Mile Park through the National Park Services and somehow through Daniel Zamora, who's the president of the Disc Golf Course Association out there, as well as Pat Vanderpool working along with National Park Services. We're able to get some grant funding to install a new sign going into 5 Mile Park. It'll state 5 Mile Park. It's really nice. The next thing is they also obtained some grant funding for individual disc, I guess you'd call them disc golf holes. For each individual hole itself, they have some signage, which shows a map of the layout of that hole. The other thing that we're looking into is putting some type of monument kind of kiosk sign out there. It's also part of these grant funds. And I think it's really great to honor former Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Lumpkin. So we plan on getting that ordered and installed. When we do, I'd like to have a formal unveiling ceremony. So I'd like to thank them for all their hard work and the collaboration with the Park Services to be able to do that. That's all grant funding, a lot of in-kind work, a lot of meetings they go through, no cost to the city. So we appreciate them. The other thing I'd like to thank the Parks Department, the Streets Department for going out and cleaning up at 5 Mile Park. We've had some illegal dumping going on out there. So they've gone out there to pick up some of that trash.
How about that, Coronado?
Coronado, that's still open for,
But no, people are piling it up on the door. I haven't been by there lately.
so we open for 4 hours each day, Monday through Friday. I'd like to eventually look into the possibility of either skipping a Monday and opening up on a Saturday, adjust schedules, what we can do. So I know there's many people that work throughout the week that do not have time to fit that. So we could at least maybe open up on Saturdays as well. I'm looking into that. But we do open for 4 hours a day, noon to 4 o'clock.
Are you guys doing anything about, you see, when I come down that road sometimes, not all the time, I mean, Tomas does a beautiful job in cleaning. But I think we're gonna have to put a camera. Sometimes you see 3 or 4 trucks that are dumped there on the door, and that's the highway department easement. At the same time, we have to clean it, but that's why we have to set hours, and people shouldn't be dumping them right at the entrance.
I agree. And
And so we're gonna have to look at some sort of camera system.
we've sent code enforcement out there. We've talked about camera systems. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of great locations out there. I won't give away too much, but we're looking into different things right now.
Yeah, because it's really violating our own nuisance order.
So another thing I've been doing this week has been working with Eastern Regional Housing Authority to start beginning the transition of all the Tim Curry Housing Authority assets. We've been having great conversations. We're talking about meeting with USDA in the near future to discuss the further discussion of the transfer of the chaparrals as well. So we'll be continuing those conversations. We also, after many years, I think it's been talked about for maybe 2 years, I've worked with Omasi's been doing a great job at the cemetery. And we're able to order and we received the lowering device and the placer for the caskets at the cemetery. So that's been going good. A lot of good positive changes moving forward. A lot of things that kind of sat stagnant for years, we're getting accomplished within a month or so. So we've been doing great on that. I'd like to thank him and his crew. We've also utilized some funding that was set aside for the convention center, and the front entrance area has been painted. So that's looking good. We had our employee expo to talk about signing up for the cafeteria plan and insurances and whatnot yesterday and today, and it's looking really good.
Good.
The other thing I'd like to bring up, as brought up in a previous commission meeting, is the issue for Mr. Aragon's property along the drainage ditch. I've had the chance to speak with the District 4 engineer for NMDOT, Mr. James Gallegos. So we plan on having a meeting hopefully next week. He has to look at his calendar and we'll coordinate with mine as well. Want to go out on site and actually look at it. He's going to see what he can do about that. And I also brought up the issue with the water ponding right here on Main and Adams. No promises, it's just for discussion. We're gonna talk and see what we can do to try to knock out some of these issues we have. And the last thing I have is, due to time constraints, due to a lag in paperwork and everything with COVID, we're behind the 8 ball on our 2nd Street project. We need to get some funds drawn down. So we have a bid opening. I'm happy to announce we actually are moving in the right direction. We have quite a few contractors interested, and the bid opening will be June 2nd. So what I'm gonna have to require to make certain time requirements and deadlines so we don't lose any grant funding, we'll have to have a special meeting with the commission on June 4th. So I want to put that on everybody's radar. After the meeting, we can discuss times, or we can discuss it now, what works for everybody that way. But that's something mandatory. We have to have a special meeting June 4th to make sure we don't lose grant funds.
I think the discussion of the time probably needs to happen
Sooner than later.
today, probably,
I agree.
just because I have to get a notice out first thing Monday morning.
Correct.
Does anybody? That's a Thursday?
June 4th is a Thursday, yes, sir.
I have a question on Mr. Aragon. Are you gonna include him with this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Because actually, he came to see me Thursday again. He's very concerned about it. I did tell him that I was trying to reach out to Senator Campos, who's also works for the highway department very well. But Senator Campos hasn't returned a call because he did ask me if Campos had said he worked very well with him. So he's very concerned because now the water's taking a different route and it's taking more, and that's easy soil because it's old topsoil. It just roams it right through and it's trying to change its course of stream.
Yes, sir, I agree. And I emphasize the urgency in this. Mr. Gaddis is very open to that. And like I said, he's planning on being here for a site visit. So tomorrow I plan on calling Mr. Aragon. That way he could give us access to the property and he could voice his concern as well.
Good.
So anybody have any objections to 5 PM on the 4th?
One day, fourth.
This is
On
Thursday.
We give authorization, I'll be here.
Right there, have phone at 5:30? If it's 5:29, I'd say no, but I'll go.
5:28? Bingo.
Let me get this in here. I will, slip my mind.
And with that, I'd like to thank Community Development for all their hard work. I know Ralph, Vicky, Alex, Sheree, all of them have been working really hard during this time. Everybody else was at home working. They were in the office working and making sure all these grants didn't miss their deadlines. We didn't lose any money, and it's very pertinent. This is a hard time, and this specific project on 2nd Street's been sitting there for too long.
It has.
And it's good to see some progress moving forward, and I look forward to the 4th to see we could issue a contract. Actually, the 2nd, so we can see what the bids come in like. But I'm getting excited. We're finally going to see something break ground before the end of the year, so I'm happy. Good.
All right. Thank you, City Manager. Next is items from the commissioners. Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes, I got a few questions. One is for the library. We only got one full timer over there?
One full-timer, one part-timer, and we discussed it. I don't think you had showed up yet at the work session, and I asked the commission, since we're on a hiring freeze, that we're able to hire another part-time employee.
Cause, she's probably gonna take a vacation.
And that's another concern. With that too, is very minimal for that department. We had cut back some of the vacancies and we went on a hiring freeze, so we hadn't touched it. But I agree, not only for vacation reasons, so people are able to take their vacation and fill in, but also for safety. I always want 2 people there at any given time, so That's something we discussed.
Another question about the cameras, have they installed them yet or anything for the library?
At the library, I would have to reach out and ask them. I'll look into that.
Mark.
I'll get you the answer.
Okay.
They should be installed because we've already paid. We've already paid Rick Security for them, so they should be up and running.
And that's another thing that's, at a later date, I don't know if we discuss it on the 4th, and I don't want to interrupt too much, but discuss a reopening plan once we know more and hear from the governor's rules and what happened today. I haven't been briefed, we're busy in meetings, so I don't know what came down through communication today, but discuss an opening plan, what we'd like to do.
Well, I just want to thank Linda and her crew and her husband for helping the library. I got another question. Somebody was asking me about surround sound that you guys got for convention center. Where is it at?
I think I addressed that, maybe it was a personal phone call with Commissioner Moyle, but it is, it's at the convention center and everybody's working.
Okay.
So,
And another thing, somebody was asking if the employees are actually paying in the building,
which building?
the convention center?
No, sir, they're not.
They're
We
not?
contracted that out.
Okay. And of course, about the potholes. It is what it is, I guess.
We do what we can within the means of our budget. We do it based on the work order system. It's the same way. If it's an emergency, we'll jump on it right away. If not, then it goes through the first come, first serve. We get them and they divvy them up and they get them done.
I just want to thank the listeners, thank you.
Can I add something to the potholes? Alex from the street department ordered a, cement saw. Is that what it's called? The cement saw? So they're gonna like cut out the pothole and hopefully then they'll last longer as they start fixing them. So they just got that in. I think
got a
today or
question too.
yesterday.
Do they actually have blowers or anything to sweep out blows?
I
Air
believe they were
Very
gonna get one. I believe they were gonna get one, and, then they got that cutter and they ordered a bunch of material to start doing the potholes up with for the potholing machine. So I think they just got that saw today.
Okay,
So,
well, thank you.
But there's also a compressor blower on the actual pothole machine itself, but sometimes it doesn't work the best. But that's one thing we've heard, the concerns of the commissioners, of the citizens. And like Rochelle saying, we did recently authorize funds for them to purchase this extra equipment to help them do a more efficient job. And it's going good.
Okay.
We're doing what we can within the budget.
Okay, I just want to thank the listeners and thank Tom for doing a good job with it. Thank you. Thanks. You're doing well. That's it.
Commissioner Moya?
Well, I had, some people from the, no, it's not some people, one person from the museum who is with the museum, board, as well as whatever the organization is there. He came and visit with me, and I guess he was talking for not only himself, but for other members of the board or the museum. What he's saying is that he wanted to see a budget for the museum, what the city has budget for. And I said, well, we'll try and get it. And I asked you for it, and I don't know if you were able to get it or not.
It was provided in tonight's budget and work session, correct?
it is in there, yes.
Okay, so then I'll just copy it from there.
Well, again, it's not for public viewing just yet because it's not approved.
Okay. 'cause
So is he asking for the current budget or for the next fiscal year budget that we're working on?
So, well, I guess they're very concerned about the city, cuts and everything that's happening, and they're very concerned about their existing. And so they really wanted to see the budget and see what they could do to help.
So there are potential cuts. However, when it comes to day-to-day operations, maintenance, building maintenance, it was a straight across budget from last year. So there is no cuts in regards to building maintenance and.
Well, actually, they're
operations.
asking you if you have the last year's budget. That's all they asked. That's all they seen, what their comments was, we never seen a budget for us, our museum. And if you can get me a copy of last year's, fine.
I can get you this year's before
Well,
you leave.
This year's, I mean.
Okay, I'll get that for you.
Because, they wanna look at it and they wanna see how they can help. What they're saying also is the fact is that maybe they could help with fundraisers and other types of things, hopefully, what they're asking, maybe writing grants and a lot of stuff, and they're asking for us to work with them in being able to more or less become more sufficient and less dependent on the city to help out the city. So they want to do their part as they come in, they came in to visit. And said they would be more than willing to start and see if they work with the city, how they could do grants, how they could do other things to take over the day-to-day cost and maintenance. So, because they see that the city's having struggles, and they also feel that their museum and their project is very, very needed in the community, and they put a lot of energy and effort, and they wanted to continue. So, I'll talk to the gentleman, and I'll have him come by and well, give me the budget, and I'll come to pick it up. But at the same time, somehow or other, we're gonna have to communicate with them and see what we need to work with them and what they're looking at, what kind of budget. They wanna know, more or less, how they can do, or how they can go about getting their grants and everything, if they can find grants, you know. And I mentioned a couple of grants that are available, and they said they would be interested in applying for them, because they feel that, they don't want nothing cut, they really just wanna do their part and eventually hopefully become self-sufficient.
I think that's a great idea.
You know, and they wanna see what other activities or other things they will be allowed to do with the city permission, stuff like that, since it's our property and it's their stuff, you know? So they're very, very, very supportive of the city and trying to help us now in the hard times.
But like Mark said, we didn't cut any, operating expenses from the museum budget.
Okay, but
So-
they wanna see something because they have no idea what's there in that.
I'll get that for you.
Okay, the other thing is, what I wanted to question was, you know, we have done some clearing of buildings and clearance of properties. The sad thing about it is, these are properties that I have brought before the commission. We have gone in, cleaned them up, spent a lot of money. We put a lien on it. Well, the problem is that these properties continue to be a nuisance. The city needs to take control and either foreclose on these properties, because of the fact is that these properties are not continuing to be maintained. They already have a lien from the city. A good example is the one there at the 600 block behind Lowe's that we threw the house down. It's full of weeds. Nobody's responsible for it. The one in High, the one over here on 4th Street, I think it was 5th Street, one at 4th. I mean, they're all full of weeds, and I think the city, we have done a lot of this in the past, and I think if we foreclose on them, and then if we get an inventory of the properties, let's go ahead and auction those properties, so that somebody can, acquire them and maintain them and keep them up, because, just come down 2nd Street and you look at that 2nd Street, lot, block away from the library, and it's full of weeds and unmaintained and everything, you know, so. We really try to solve the problem, but then we drop the ball. We don't fulfill the foreclosing. It would be different if the people would keep up the property, because then we'd be happy that at least they're doing something, and within 14 years or something, they can get their, you know, sue and get their cloud out of their title, you know, because that's a statute of limitation on a lien of that type, you know. But let's see what happens. The other thing is, what kind of progress are we doing on the building on 2nd and Main? The dilapidated building, you said you were gonna take steps to start processing something there. The problem was that, you know, like I said, with the previous city manager, the owner outsmarted us and winded up passing the property to somebody else. And now we have a problem in our hands because that's still very dilapidated. The whole deal is that eventually we're gonna have to do something with it. It doesn't look good. We have the Main Street people spending all kinds of money, but in the middle of their project is this dilapidated building with half of the street, corner off, and all the weeds growing all over the fence there, you know what I mean? So we do have to get the city out there and cut those weeds that look pretty big.
So I can tell you right now, we were making great progress. It's still gonna be taken care of. I don't wanna divulge too much information, but it is gonna get handled hopefully soon.
Well, I hope it does, but at the same time, you know, maybe something could be worked out so that the city will not be at the end of the line being the liable person. Because, you know, San Dorsey cost us $400-some thousand. That's more than the building was worth. Certainly, we don't want to do this, but somehow or other, we still need to address the problem.
I have been in contact with the property owner as well as Main Street. and
Oh, you got all the property?
We have a plan and we will be hopefully resolving the issue soon, at least to the point where it's no longer a nuisance and we can at least pull the fence back onto at least to the property line and get it out of the street.
Okay, because they're really, right now, the only solution right now is with the dropping rocks. That,
Correct.
is either demolish the building or do something to safeguard the building.
Correct. We have a plan in place and we're hoping everything works out. We're working on it, we made progress.
And so on the city manager thing, it closes on the 4th or the 5th of June.
The 4th.
And then when are we gonna set up for interviews, do you know?
Shortly after that, I'd like to ask you, I'm glad you brought it up. I was gonna bring it up, next special meeting on the 4th, but if that's the case, if it closes, I'd be short notice. We could possibly look at applications that same day.
Good, 'cause I'd like to see, have we had a lot of applications?
We have actually.
A lot?
We do.
So we have a lot to choose from. Okay, well. The other thing is, I really want to thank the citizens of Tucumcari for following a lot of the restrictions, keeping their distance and everything, because we have not increased in what we call our cases of COVID-19. I also work in an adjacent community and they're at 20 now, and they're very low population, and it's really scary for some of us who have office, that we rotate, we see a lot of clients, you know. So it's a real good sign that Tucumcari is doing the right thing, and certainly it makes me feel safe going to the stores, even though at times I do wear a mask, sometimes I don't, you know. But that's all I have to say. I'm glad that we're doing good.
Commissioner Audience?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't have too much tonight. I just want to thank Mark, Rochelle, your staff, the department heads for working on this budget and getting us closer to where we need to be. I do also want to remind everyone that the census is still going on, so if you have not completed your census, please get counted. It's imperative to our community and to our county that you do get counted, and as well as your family. The primaries are opening up. June 2nd is the last day to vote. So please, everyone, get out and vote, and let's select our local representatives. Thank you.
I got a few things.
Ready?
I'm ready. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got one more.
Go ahead.
Rock Island, any update?
Smart patrolling. I talked with the chief of police, and he said they'll look into it. That there are many, let me rephrase it, not so much they'll look into it, but they have many priorities. They have First Street, they have Washington, they have Charles, they get complaints on numbers, so they only have so many officers, and they will do what they can.
Okay. Can we explore the options of doing a study for speed bumps or stop signs or something of the sort?
You can.
All right, do not mention Rock Island. All right, I had a gentleman, stop me yesterday on the street. A couple of months ago, the city was doing some work on West Mesa Vista. And the process, they took out a portion of his, curb. And he came to the city, and I don't know if a work would have been done, but I've got the address, I've even got pictures. The problem with this particular portion is where his drainage comes off. You know, the pipe runs all the way up into that, and that's just been, well, he has the loose curb sitting over, but, you know, he was wondering if there's any chance that the city could get out there
Seems
and
like
patch
an
it
easy
up.
patch.
It's not a difficult one, but, you know, he's been patient. It's been quite a few months.
If you get with me after this and I get the address, we'll check on it.
Sounds good, thank you. I brought it up a couple of times, I'm really concerned. I've had several people come to me, getting notified that they've got trash around their dumpster. We can't pin the dumpster on one house just because it's, you know, we don't get to pick and choose. I know we've got somebody dumping in our dumpsters right now that I have to go sometimes a couple of days. That's not the complaint we're getting, but we don't know who's dropping trash, but we're citing or sending letters, or verbally letting these individuals know that well, this is on your property. Well, we didn't pick and choose. I think Commissioner Moy had brought that up before. We don't pick and choose, and so we can't really, if we're sharing our dumpsters, then that one resident should be responsible for what's, I don't see my dumpster for several days sometimes.
Well, what I
But
see,
it sits by my fence, and I'm not the only one that uses it. So I'm just saying, that's probably the same situation for about 90% of us. We don't see the dumpster until we go dump our trash. And if there's trash laying out there, really, it's not that one individual that should be getting, unless we can set it up that everybody's got their own dumpsters. So anyway, I know that I'm not expecting a solution right now, but that is something I think is becoming a mounting problem, especially along First Street, where you've got a lot of those lots and the wind blows that trash up there. We basically should hire them people with the city because they're keeping all that trash cleaned up for the most part, trying to make sure their yards are fine. So, I brought this up to you, about a week or so ago, and I probably already know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. How many citations have been submitted, have been sent to the people that own the KFC building and the Relax Inn? I know there's addresses for them, and right now, this trying to get a hold of them is for the birds. They should be getting citations now. I guarantee if we send these companies a citation, somebody's gonna get a hold of us to try to explain something.
on the Relax.
And you know why I'm hitting on this, so I'm not gonna elaborate any more than that. But our citizens are cleaning up these areas. And I've had enough of seeing our citizens putting forth their own Sundays to clean up trash that these people are blatantly disregarding what they're doing to our community. And I'm not getting on to you, but it's really, really getting on us because we've got a beautiful community. And when we listen to the people that pass through here and they're sitting in my patio at my business and what they've got to look at is the Relax Inn. And the only part that's clean is where I go out personally and clean up my areas where when they look over that way, they're not seeing the weeds that are on just the other side. Somebody owns those buildings.
But then we, the city foreclosed on that, I did something in 2012. It's in the record.
They did, but who knows if those people haven't been notified and we haven't taken control of it. Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm not sure if it was foreclosed on for the Relax Inn, possibly a lien,
Yes,
lien?
there was a lien, yeah.
but they also owe the city a ton of money for the times that they've gone out and cleaned that property also.
Died, that owned it?
I believe he
He
did.
died when he was from California.
Yes, I believe he did, so I'm not sure who owns it now, but I believe the gentleman that did previously own it, Manning,
Yeah, something like that.
Viking Manning or something was his name, and I believe he passed away.
Maybe if we send the citation to his last known address, somebody will be there to get it. We gotta make an effort. I've noticed that we make a strong effort on our citizens, which I'm not saying that's wrong. We have an ordinance to make sure we have our citizens to follow. And as much as we try to keep up with our city properties, it's even worse when we have a complaint. I know I'm not the only commissioner, get a complaint that, well, y'all don't go after the big guys. Well, I'm tired of seeing our little guys taking care of those big guys at no charge. So I would like for us to get an address, and I don't want a letter sent. I want a citation sent. Then they're gonna have to come here and explain it to the court, because as we know, a bench warrant will be served if they don't show up. So we need to press on hard. Next, with the lots, I would like us to take in consideration on something with the lots. And it's something I think can benefit our community, especially around tour season and in the springtime. I've seen this, when I was in my past life when I was a truck driver. You go to certain states that as you're driving, you just see lines and lines of certain flowers. Would it be so much if the city would take one of these lots and basically roll it up and let people adopt a lot and go drop flowers into those lots?
So are we talking about the lots, Mr. Moore, or Commissioner Moore?
Anything that the city's taking a lien on.
So if it's not technically our property, we just have a lien, there's some liability concerns that we're going to trespass.
Well, if we've got a lien, then maybe they should get a citation.
And I know particularly the one behind Lowe's, the last time I had dealt this, and this is years ago, the gentleman was actually deceased, so I did not know at that point who we're gonna issue a citation.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
the
why-
last known record.
Well, in a case like, I'm just saying, we can come up with something and make some of these lots look a lot better. There's a lot of people would like to, at one point, the co-op was considering wanting to grow vegetables and stuff there. But, especially the lots along, 54, the lots along, 66. I think it would be the neatest thing when somebody drives in during the springtime, when we start getting everybody, and they see flowers, you know, whether the indigenous flowers, yuccas, whatever it may be. We have people that walk up and down these boulevards and take pictures. And our goal should not to be just Tucumcari tonight, but Tucumcari tonight and tomorrow. And if there's more to show, there's more reason to stay. So that, I'm just saying that that's something we can look at as something that might be feasible to do for our community. And Ralph, you talked about the second Main Street building. Thank you.
I think people keep calling me when they get a notice from the nuisance people.
I appreciate you, reaching out to Mr. Gallegos. If you don't mind, could you, if we don't have two more commissioners going, could you invite me to that meeting?
I could, yes, sir.
I would like to get a face and the name together, when we discuss out here on 54 as well. They need to, I think they really need to know what our urgency is to get that fixed. I want to congratulate all these seniors. You know, we can all sit up here and we can actually remember probably a lot of them when they were a lot younger. If I'm correct, this group has really been through a lot. 9/11, weren't they born or were they going to kindergarten?
The year they were born.
The year they were born, they had 9/11. And then it seems like every mile marker stone, I've had people tell me, well, I would go to my graduation. I would, because you know what? That marked a spot in my life. And I know, it is probably hard on some of the parents as well as the grandparents. You know, as much as we dreamed from the day we first went to kindergarten of being able to graduate and walk down that aisle and get our diploma. I know our parents are right there dreaming with us. I just want to wish all the seniors a great graduation. Appreciate the radio doing what they're going to do. Appreciate the parents that have been active, making sure that we do make this a memorable year. The businesses that have gone out to try to make sure the seniors had a memorable year. You know, you guys have been through some struggles, and this is good lessons in life to take from that and be stronger from it. I want to give kudos to the community for the support that they've given these local businesses. If you have a problem with Tucumcari, walk down the boulevard, go into the small businesses, and see what kind of stuff's happening. Main Street's done some wonderful things, doing some live feeds in some of our stores to help them get a jump start. Myself with my restaurants, I appreciate everybody that's walked in. Normally this time of year, it's the tourists that we depend on. The community really stepped up, whether it was buying gift cards from our businesses, going in, buying something that they may not need it right now, but they kind of seen that they may need it later. It really showed what kind of community we have, and makes me real proud to sit up here. Even through whenever I have complaints, it still makes me feel proud to sit up here because I know what Tucumcari has to offer. Fireworks. I know the governor is going to tell us we can't gather more than 100. Is there any way we can still have a fireworks show? Because this year of all year, we need to know how free we feel.
Again, up to the commission.
Okay.
Drought, so dry.
Well, we've had drought before and we still did fireworks. I can tell you, from my understanding, Logan's not doing and Conchas is not doing. I think this of all years is the time we need to do it more so than anything.
So a few things to consider just on the budget side. I know the Elks has been closed, so it's hard on them. They matched, we split 50-50. So again, like I said, it's up to the commission. There had to be discussion with them and a lot of discussion. And right now we're to the point where since we haven't made a decision, we could potentially not get fireworks in on time. So we'll have to act on this quick if that's what you want to do.
Do we want to act on this quick? When's the latest that we can meet that we can still get fireworks?
It's gonna be tight, maybe too late already. I'll have to make some calls.
You said June's in what, 2 days? Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, we try to order by the end of April into May. And now we're at the end of May, about 2 weeks.
Well, my guess is there's probably gonna be quite a few people that have canceled their firework display, so maybe they got some sitting in the warehouse.
Usually they come from China, so.
Anyway, can you find out as soon as possible if we can move forward with this? And if that's the case, maybe we can have a special meeting for the vote or whatever needs to be done or go over it. I think that, I know we've had a lot of events canceled. Our independence and our freedom is not something we should cancel.
Here.
Next, I got only 2 more things. If y'all haven't met her, and I'm not gonna say her name in public just yet, the owner of the Apache is somebody that I think everybody should meet. And when she gets settled, I'm thinking I'd like to invite her to the commission. This is somebody that, I'm not gonna go too much into her past because, that's something I think she should, elaborate on if she chose to so. But she came from some really tough means and has made something of herself. She came into Tucumcari, fell in love, and bought one of the properties that we were giving up on. And if you go by there, take your time to go by. This lady's got an imagination. And if you see what she's done to the building, you'll get the same vision as she does. But it doesn't stop there. The reason I'm bringing her up is some of us have a lot of energy for our community. And there's a lot of times that when the negativity starts building up, the energy goes down and pretty soon we're all in the same spot. And so it's kind of refreshing to see somebody coming out of the woodwork and that believes that, we've got to be our own superhero. And the idea she has to, that we're elaborating on, hopefully, by next season we've got it going, but we thought about a covered wagon taking some of the tourists on trips around the museums. The whole idea is you do it at 9:30. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to miss their checkout. They're going to stay an extra day. They spend 10 times the money for every day that they're here. They'll spend 10 times the money. So you get a chance.
You just told them our gimmick.
No, that's just if you get a chance, stop by, see what those workers are doing at the Apache. She's a blonde-headed lady, very nice looking. You just stop in, go introduce yourself. She's very excited about what's happening in the community. She's got other friends moving into this community because of this. I saw we had an update from the governor that they're going to allow opening on Monday for restaurants 50%. I don't know all the details just yet. It came out while we were in the meeting. It's nice that we're able to, and even at the 50%. Please, everybody, one thing that I've noticed, not just on Facebook, but out in public, there's become a division because of your own beliefs. You have the right to have your own beliefs. If you walk into a place and you want to wear your mask and they tell you not to, then that might not be a place you want to be. You should be respected. If you walk into a place, please respect those that choose to wear the mask and choose to follow the guidelines. And if somebody chooses not to wear one, respect that as well. There's no harm in wanting to feel extra safe, and there's no harm in feeling more like, run invincible. We've all been there. Enjoy Monday. Go out there, go sit in those places you haven't been able to sit in, go shop in the places you haven't been able to shop in, go get your hair did and your nails did. We can do that all. I want to do my hair Monday morning myself. But just be safe, respect everybody, okay? That's all I got tonight. Thank you, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Yes.
Commissioner Moya.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Commissioner Arias.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Chris, would you stop that recording, please?